Making a glued wrist corsage out of daisy mums. The first thing we're going to do for our wrist corsage is attach this bow to this band. And how we're going to do that is we're going to glue it on like this. Now, because we're using the cold glue and it takes a little longer to dry, we're also going to wrap these wires around it to make it more secure. So you take your bow and you place it on the band, and then we're going to lift up the little loops, and we're going to wrap the wire around here with the pointy part facing up, because you don't want that to stick into anybody. Come over to this side and do that same wrap. Again, the reason we're doing this, I don't always do this with hot glue because it holds better, but with the cold glue that takes so long to dry, we're going to do that. Now we're also going to close these little clips right here. Leave that up. We're going to trim it in a minute. Close these like this. They don't need to stay open. Do that on the other side. Like that. And now we're going to trim those wires so that they don't poke into anyone. And the bow is securely on the band. Now, it also looked pretty bad, so fluff up your bow before you start working with it. All right, now that bow looks a lot better, and it's time to work with it. Wait, now it's a lot better. Next, we're gonna add some greenery. I've cut 2 little laterals off the ruscus and just left 3 of the leaves. I will be trimming these a little shorter too. But first I'm going to lift the bow, and where all of this was, I'm going to glue, trimming that stem, I am going to glue the leaf under the bow like that. So, I'm going to take some of our glue, stick it in there, take our leaf, put it in there, glue it, put the ribbon on the top, turn the ribbon around, and I'm going to do the same thing on, yeah, sometimes when you start squeezing this glue, it comes out. Now I'm gluing the leaf to my finger. Okay, trim that. Stick that down underneath the bow, and again, close the bow. You have glued the leaf underneath that ribbon. Okay. I am now going to randomly glue these little single leaves under the bows throughout the design. I don't have any glue yet, so I'm just going to randomly lift bows, stick the leaves up under the bows, and glue them in. I have 7 leaves here right now. I'm going to use anywhere from 3, 5, or 7. Obviously, I have my odd number thing that I like. So when I start working with it, it'll speak to me as to whether I want a lot of greenery or a little bit of greenery. I'm going to start with my first one on the side. So I'm going to lift my bow up. I'm going to put a little bit of glue in here. And I'm going to stick my leaf in there. Hold it for a minute. I'm going to gently go to the other side. Hopefully that'll dry a little bit while I'm working on the other side. Again, I'm going to lift my bows up. I'm going to put a little bit of glue. I'm going to add a leaf, and I'm going to close my bow. Okay, so those were 2 on the side. Now I'm going to lift my bow up here, add a little bit of glue, add another leaf. I like how the leaves are sticking to me because I have glue on my fingers. Corsage work can be messy on your hands. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to lift my bow up, add a little more glue, add a leaf. Okay, I am liking that. So I put in 4 leaves so far. Yeah, and I'm liking that. I think I'm gonna put 1 more, maybe right here. Just stick a little dab of glue there. Add my other leaf. I'm adding these leaves with the nice side up. Yeah, there we go. I'm liking that greenery. I'm actually gonna let it sit for a minute and dry. After my greenery dried a little bit, I went ahead and tried it on, and I do like how it's looking. It's ready for flowers. The most traditional corsages use roses, but if you look on Pinterest or any floral website, you're gonna see that they use all kinds of flowers to make corsages. And this is fall, so I decided we would go with a fall theme, and we will use fall mums. Your mums will actually be yellow with a black center. I just happen to have these for filming. So I'm gonna teach you how to get these flowers into your ribbon and leaves. First, you trim them pretty close to the bottom. Just a little nub left on each one. I have picked the larger head to be the center of my corsage. I'm gonna take glue and squeeze it on. Runs out fast. And just put it in the center of my corsage. And I'll let it dry just a little bit. Okay, on the side where your long leaf and that metal is, you're going to glue another one. Good. Put a little glue on it. Actually, these side ones, it would be probably a little better or okay if you did have a little bit of stem in there. All right, I'm gonna lift it up and I'm gonna glue it facing the other way. And I'm gonna turn this around on that side. I'm gonna lift the ribbon, add glue to my flower, a little more. Okay. And tuck it under there. Ta-da! Isn't that cute? I'm gonna let it dry for a second. I have wrist tested it again, and I'm happy with what I see. Technically, you'd call this done, but I have another thing we're gonna do. And taking off my wrist corsage, I found that this one was a little loose, so I went in and I added just a tad more glue to make it secure. We're gonna add hypericum berries to give it a little something else. I don't like how sometimes on corsages you can see the glue and like these empty spaces in them. And that's why I like to add things like the hypericum berry to cover up some of the glue and also just to give it some more depth and some more interest, contrast all of those things. Don't forget, in corsage work, we're still using the elements and principles of design. I'm going to trim all my hypericum to still have a little bit of a stem. Again, I'm going to trim 7 of them, but I might not use them all. If you have something like that, make sure you trim that off or trim it right there. So I'm gonna come in here, take those off. This one. I still, after I decide where I put them, might need to trim the stem a little more. I know I definitely want some in the side. Don't have glue yet. I want some in the side, and as I'm looking at it, I might put some up closer to the flowers too. Let's see what that'll look like. Okay, and looking at my placements without the glue, I did decide I wanted to trim that just a little bit more. And I'm going to get the stem, and I'm going to make sure it's good and covered with glue. I'm going to pull back my ribbon a little bit, and I'm going to stick the hypericum berry in there, and I'm going to let it dry. Now the hypericum berries, you are going to have to give them a little more time to dry before like you try to put it on your wrist or you throw it around or anything, because their heaviness is going to make them fall out easier. All right, I think I'd like another one right about here. I'm going to test it and see how much stem I need. I think just cut it just a tad, not much. Then again, I'm going to add a little glue to the end of the stem. Again, this work can be very messy if you're not careful, so you have to be careful. All right, I'm going to get that hypericum up under that ribbon. Oh, got hidden by the flower a little bit, but that's okay. It's still covering up areas that there was glue. Now I'm going to flip it to the other side, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Oh, there's a big hole right there. That's going to be a great place to put one. Trim it. Add my glue. Stick it up under that ribbon. Ta-da! And I think I want another one over here. Pull my ribbon apart. This one I'm going to trim it again. Add my glue. Add my hypericum. Okay, I've added 2 hypericum on either side now. I'm liking how they look. I'm going to let them dry for just a second before I decide whether I'm going to put any more in. All right, I've decided to add 2. I'm going to take this one, cut, oops, add some glue. I had a spot right here that I thought it would look cool to have one resting on top of the leaf. Where is that? Right there. So I'm going to actually come on this side and do something similar over here. I'm going to take this one. Again, I ended up, I think, trimming every single one of them. Add my glue. Stick the hypericum in there. Oops. My ribbon is glued to the leaf, so I need to come up just a little bit. There we go. Okay. I am going to call that done. Something you need to pay attention to the whole time you're making your corsage is your ribbon loops. You don't want the ribbon loops to get squished and hidden. You don't want them all to end up on one side or the other. They need to be interspersed throughout your corsage. Notice that I have a loop here and a loop here and here, and I have a couple down here. I have one in the front and the back. The loops are all throughout. So when you are gluing your greenery and your flowers and then your little filler like the hypericum, don't forget that the loops are part of this design, and for it to look beautiful at the end, the loops need to be considered where they are placed when you are placing the flowers. So don't make sure, like the main thing is make sure they're not all on one side or all squished down and hidden. Just have a few throughout the design like that. A very cute corsage. I'm gonna gently put it on my wrist. Let's see. Oh yeah, a fall corsage for a nice little fall event. Do they still do Sadie Hawkins dances? That would be cute for something like that. A fall wedding, a fall event of any sort. Ta-da! I hope you enjoy making yours.